Hello everyone, welcome to the course of microbiology designed for the MSc Biotechnology student of biotechnology stream. Today's topic is cell-cell communication within microbial population. So let's start the class. Actually, the the communication between uh, cells or among the cells in a natural environment, uh, it is very important because natural microbial environment, it is an environment which is not created by humans, and these environments are complex and they remain constantly changing. Natural microbial environment, in the natural microbial environment, the microbes are exposed to many overlapping gradients of nutrients and other environment factors. So you can say that this natural microbial environment in which naturally microbes grow, they face a number of factors for their survival. So these natural microbial environments, they are complex and constantly changing. In this, the nutrients are not always not abundant, but it is an overlapping gradient of nutrients, and there is many environmental factors which actually influence the growth of a microorganism, and a number of inhibitory substances are there which actually affect the microbial growth, and these microorganisms, they must have some system uh, to overcome or to actually handle these inhibitory substances. So, apart from these environmental factor, there are a number of micro and macroorganisms present in the natural environment. Of course, in case of laboratory, when we grow a particular microorganism in its pure culture, in that condition, the specific microorganisms present alone in a particular medium and environment. But in case of natural environment, or habitat, the natural habitats contain both micro and microorganisms, and microbes do not exist alone. So microbes, they associate with each other, sometimes by forming biofilms, and they frequently form relationships with plants and animals. So uh, in the natural environments, there are a number of conditions. For example, if we talk about the nutrient rich condition, which is known as eutrophic environments, and another condition which is known as oligotrophic environment, which possess low nutrient levels. And when there is a competition among the organism, or there is a limited nutrient level, or you can say in oligotrophic condition, or sometimes under starvation, a number of mechanisms are there which help these microorganisms to survive. So some bacteria, they respond to starvation with the obvious morphological changes such as endospore formation. So these endospores, they are not highly resistant to um, a variety of stresses like temperature, radiation, different chemical, against chemical, hazardous chemical, but they are metabolically dormant. It means the metabolic activity is in its lowest rate in case of endospores. So these microorganisms become dormant when they undergo endospore formation, or you can say is pollution. But not only endospores, other microbes, they become dormant without such a drastic reorganization of the cells. And in some cases, particularly in case of eukaryotic microbes, and some bacteria, they form cysts, and some microorganisms, they undergo a dormant phase by only decreasing the overall size of the cell. So the overall requirement, nutrient requirement, it get decreases and they remains live, but under lowest metabolic rate. So generally, these dormant phases are accompanied by protoplast shrinkage and in bacteria nucleate condensation, because they are tend to save their genetic material. So in most of the bacteria, some proteins are responsible for survival strategies and starvation, and one of them is this RPOS, which is a component of RNA polymerase holoenzyme, and this enzyme responsible for binding DNA and initiating transcription. And this RPOS, it is a transcription factor that directs the other subunit of the enzyme. So this RPOS actually directs the core enzyme to gene encoding proteins that help the bacterium survive starvation, as well as the proteins which are involved in general stress response. So actually these proteins which are translated because of the action of this RPOS, they are collectively known as starvation protein, and one of the starvation protein is DPS, that is DNA binding protein. Another term which is used for the bacterial cells which are able to survive under exposure of an antibiotic without expressing the antibiotic resistant gene, and these type of bacterial cells are known as persisters. Actually, persisters are bacterial cells identified by their ability to survive exposure to an antibiotic, generally multiple antibiotics, even though they do not harbor antibiotic resistance gene. So these type of bacteria, they are known as persisters. Remember this. So let's talk about the cell-cell communication. Actually, this all is a actually the overview about the natural microbial environment and how these microorganisms and particularly bacteria, they survives in this complex and challenging environment, natural environment. So let's talk about the cell-cell communication, and for this we select the biofilms. The biofilms, which is a complex slime encased communities of microorganisms. So, uh, actually, if you want to scrap your teeth without brushing early in the morning. So you can see that under microscope you can see that a number of this scraping which you extract from your tooth in the morning, early in the morning, and if you want to see under compound microscope you can see that a number of bacteria and microorganisms that remain intermingled in a slime-like structure, and this slime encased community of microbes, it is known as biofilms. And this was actually uh, observed by students of Leeuwenhoek, and uh, these biofilms are ubiquitous in nature, where they are most often seen as a layer of slime on rocks or other objects in water or at water air interfaces. And they simply cause the corrosion of the substratum or object on which they actually grow. And these biofilms, if they are present in the human body or an animal body, they cause serious illness and failure of the medical devices. So biofilm can also seen on the wound scabs, and they cause delay wound healing. uh, Biofilm actually it can be it is actually reported in the fossil that is 3.4 billion years old. And you can imagine that how these biofilms, they support and they prevent or they protect the bacteria from different environmental stresses. So biofilm can form on virtually any surface once it has been conditioned by some proteins and other molecules present in the environment. Initially, these microbes attach to the conditioned surface but can readily detach. They form a slimy matrix made up of various polymers depending on the microorganism in the biofilms, and the polymer are collectively known as extracellular polymeric substances, that is EPS, or it can be called as extracellular matrix. These extracellular matrix, as I have told you earlier in the class, that they include polysaccharide proteins, glycoproteins, glycolipids, and TNA. The extracellular polymeric substances allows the microbes to stick more stably to the surface, and as the biofilm matures, the microbes reproduce and secrete additional polymer. So this eventually conditions at locations in the biofilm, and it can become detrimental to the cells, and it becomes beneficial for cells to detach and escape the biofilm. In mature biofilm, it is a complex, dynamic community of microorganisms, and it exhibit considerable heterogeneity. A considerable heterogeneity due to differences in the metabolic activity of microbes at various locations within the biofilms. and some of the microorganisms are persister cells. So biofilm microbes interact in a variety of way. For example, the waste products of one microbes may be the energy source for another microbes, particularly for the persisters. So the cells also use molecules to communicate with each other. And finally, DNA present in the EPS can be taken up by members of the biofilm community, and genes can be transferred from one cell to another cell. That is the transformation. So, in the biofilm, microbes are protected from. It is not only provide or facilitate the growth of the microorganisms, they also support and protect the microorganisms from a number of harmful agents like UV lights and antibiotics. So, this is because of the EPS in which they are embedded. But not only the structural complexity of the EPS, there are some physiological changes which occurs, and they also protect these microorganisms under biofilm. So numerous proteins found in biofilm cells, which are generally not observed in their free living form, and resistance of biofilm cells to antimicrobial agents, it has been reported as an important consequence. And these biofilms, when they form on a medical device like hip implant or uh, catheter, then treatment with antibiotic often fails, and they lead to serious systemic infection. And this antibiotic treatment failure, it is because of the presence of persister in the biofilm. So the persisters, they survive antibiotic treatment and then repopulate the biofilm once treatment ceases. So often the only way to manage patient in this situation is by removing that implant, particularly in case of implantation. So this is all about the biofilm, and you can see here the biofilm picture or figure, which is a scanning electron microscopic picture, and it is a biofilm of Pseudomonas aeruginosa strain, and this, you can see here, this is the biofilm, white color. Okay, so as I have reported here in this slide, that biofilms can be found in the fossils. Not can be found, it is actually reported in the fossils record from about 3.4 billion years ago. So you can imagine that how protective these biofilms are. So we have already uh, um, discussed about all these topics which is depicted in this slide, and the cells within the biofilm, they use molecule to communicate with each other. So next topic is uh, cell-cell communication within microbial population. So uh, this cell-cell communication, it is also known as quorum sensing, and a quorum usually refers to the minimum number of members in an organization. Uh, for example, in a legislative body which is needed to conduct a business, and the first example, actually, this quorum sensing, in quorum sensing, bacterial cells, they use molecular signals to communicate with each other in a density dependent manner. In a density dependent manner. So this is known as quorum sensing, and the first example of quorum sensing was observed in the gram-positive pathogenic bacterium Streptococcus pneumoniae, and you all are aware about this experiment. So, in Streptococcus pneumoniae cells, they produce and release a small proteins, that is a peptide, into the environment, and as population size increases, the amount of peptide increases. Eventually, the concentration of the peptide is high enough to convert some cells in the population from a non-competent state to a competent state. Remember, this peptide is responsible, the concentration of the peptide, when it is high enough, a threshold value of the peptide concentration, it makes non-competent cells to competent, and these competent cells are able to take up DNA, that is a process known as transformation, and you have already studied about this experiment, when you study about the transformation method, how transformation discovered and how it is confirmed that DNA is a genetic material. So these competent cells actually are able to take up DNA, and the competency, it actually evolved because of the presence of this peptide in a particular concentration. So the competent cells, they release a chemical known as bacteriocin that lies the non-competent cells, and when these non-competent cell lies, they release DNA, which can be taken up by the competent cells. And these cells, lyse cells, they also release some virulence factor that help the competent cells to invade tissue in a host organism and causing serious disease, that is pneumonia or meningitis, that is the characteristic disease developed by these streptococcus pneumoniae. So the quorum sensing system of streptococcus pneumoniae was the first discovered, but the term was not coined in this case. So this quorum sensing term was coined after the discovery of different bacterium, a marine luminescent bacterium known as Vibrio fischeri. So, uh, in case of marine luminescent bacterium Vibrio fischeri, they actually lives within the light organ of a fish and squid, and these bacterium, they regulates luminescence by producing a small diffusible molecule known as autoinducer. This small molecule, diffusible molecule, it is known as autoinducer, and in case of Vibrio fischeri, this autoinducer is N-acetyl homoserine lactone. N-acetyl homoserine lactone, it is an autoinducer. It is present in the Vibrio fischeri, and this AHL, it is now known that many gram-negative bacteria, they are able to make AHL molecule signals that vary uh, in length and substitution of the acyl side chain. So this AHL, it is freely diffusible across the plasma membrane, and at a low cell density, the diffusion gradient favors movement of AHL from the cytoplasm to the outside of the cell. सो जब लो डेंसिटी होती है सेल की, तो AHL साइटोप्लाज्म से एनवायरनमेंट में सिक्रीट होता है, ये डिफ्यूज होता है. When the cell population increases, the diffusion gradient is reversed. जब population increase हो जाती है और एक certain concentration AHL की या NSIL homoserine lactone की environment में already present होती है, maximum concentration present होता है AHL का, then the movement of AHL it get reversed, the diffusion gradient is reversed, and the movement of AHL into the cell is favored. And because the influx of AHL is cell density dependent, it enables individual cells to assess the population density. And when AHL reaches a threshold level inside the cell, it induces the expression of target gene that regulates a number of function. You can see here that in the low these AHL molecule first they diffuses outside of the cell, that is from cytoplasm to the environment. After a certain threshold value of this AHL, which is actually the density dependent, population dependent condition, what happens, this AHL molecules it diffuses back inside the cell, and these AHL molecule they actually binds to the certain factors, that is in this case LuxR protein, and when they bound to this LuxR protein, they enable this LuxR protein or they form AHL LuxR complex, which actually regulates the Lux CD base system, and which leads the transcription of Luxi and causes the bioluminescence. Is it clear? So this N-acyl homoserine lactone, it is known as molecule of communication or signaling molecules. So, overall mechanism in this quorum sensing, in case of bibliofishery, which is the most studied quorum sensing system, the Luxi gene, which is responsible for the transcription of this Luxi CDAB gene, and then responsible for bioluminescence. So it is highly conserved, and AHL signals are received by this LuxR protein or gene, which is a transcriptional regulator or factor with two domains. One binds with the AHL, and other which is a helix turn helix domains binds to the DNA. And this LuxR complex bind to a 20 base pair section of DNA known as Lux box. You can see here. This is the Lux box where this complex AHL LuxR complex it binds, and then the region this Lux box it is actually on within or near the Lux promoter region, and this promoter region it is actually 15 base pair upstream to the regulated gene, 15 base pair upstream to the regulator gene. When this LuxR is bound to the DNA, RNA polymerase is recruited to the promoter region after the binding of LuxR, which facilitates the binding of RNA polymerase, which leads to the expression of the genes, which is actually responsible for bioluminescence. And it these express gene, they also increase the production of more LuxI and LuxR proteins also. So the overall bioluminescence, it increases as the population of these Vibrio fishery increases within a particular habitat, that is the certain fish and squid. So overall, a simple mechanism or a general mechanism for quorum sensing is that first of all, it is true for biofilm formation also. Okay, so this picture actually depicts the biofilm formation by cell communication. So when the bacterium it comes in the contact with the substratum, these substratums are preconditioned by some ambient molecules, generally peptides. So what happens? These preconditioned surface, they allow these cells to deposit, and cells are absorbed over the substratum because of the presence of these peptides, which are actually produced by these bacteria. And after binding to the substratum, they produce some molecules, and these molecules, when a certain population or certain density of bacteria it actually present on the substratum, they secrete some type of molecules which act as signals, and they causes the production of exopolymer. And exopolymer production, they these exopolymers, they ultimately causes the biofilm formation. You can see here, this is the exopolymer deposition over the bacterial population, and as the cell density increases, the exopolymer secretion also increases, and the replication and growth of particular bacteria species, it actually increases within the biofilm. And after a certain concentration, the detachment, erosion, and slogging, which is caused by this bacterium, it happens, and the detachment of biofilms, it also occurs. So these bacterium, along with the biofilm, they then attach to the other substratum and grow properly. So actually, not only this Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is actually studied for the quorum sensing or cell-to-cell communication. Other gram-positive bacteria, they communicate using short peptide known as oligopeptides, and not only these oligopeptides or signaling molecules not only responsible for producing bioluminescence or biofilm formation, but if we talk about the Enterococcus faecalis, which is a bacteria present in your large intestine, and they produce some oligopeptide signals, which is used to determine the best time to conjugate. That is the process of conjugation, that is transfer of gene from one cell to another cells. And some bacteria like Staphylococcus and Bacillus subtilis, they also used to trigger they actually produce some oligopeptide, that is oligopeptide based communication. In case of Staphylococcus and Bacillus subtilis, it is also used to trigger the uptake of DNA from the environment. So there are a number of molecules which has been discovered now, and these molecular signals, which are made by a variety of microbes, and they are responsible, and they are important for cell-cell communication in regulating cellular processes, and actually the gram negative bacteria, most of the gram negative bacteria, they are responsible for the production of this n-acetyl homoserine lactone, and a representative organism which have been already studied, that is vibrio fischeri, we have already studied it in detail. It is responsible for the regulation of bioluminescence, while Agrobacterium tumefaciens, it uses this AHL signaling molecule for plasmid transfer. Erwinia, it uses it as a for the regulation of virulence and antibiotic production. Pseudomonas aeruginosa, it also utilizes AHL for controlling the virulence and biofilm formation. Burkholderia, it uses this AHL for regulation of virulence. So another signaling molecule which is known as AL2, that is a furanosyl borate, produced by Vibrio harvey, and it is responsible for the controlling bioluminescence activity of this bacteria. And Staphylococcus aureus, it produces cyclic thiolactone, and this cyclic thiolactone, it is responsible for controlling the virulence factor of the bacteria. And you can see a number of uh, signaling molecules. For example, in case of candida albicans, farnesoic acid, it is actually produced by these fungi, and they control the dimorphic transition and virulence of this fungus. So another important example is the 3 hydroxy tridecan 4 on. It is a signaling molecule produced by Vibrio cholerae, and this molecule is actually responsible for the virulence, or you can say disease causing factor of the bacteria. So a number of signaling molecules has been reported, and they are responsible actually for the cell to cell communication. So this is all about the cell cell communication in microorganisms. Thank you very much.